To bring on the positive vibe. Wherever we go, we are gonna do.
I'm sorry.
Unmute me, baby.
I'm sorry. My
Listen,
bad. I apologize.
I got things to say.
I'm sorry.
Look, this is the Soul Purpose Lounge.
It is.
It is. And I'm Keith. I'm one of your hosts, and this is my lovely co-host,
Monica. Hello, everybody.
So thank you so much for joining us during this October HBCU Homecoming Challenge month. This is the Soul Purpose Lounge where we drink and cuss a little bit.
Hopefully, we won't have to do too much cursing today.
But at any rate, I mentioned this. So look, it's Homecoming Challenge.
It is.
And if you have been following us this month, then what you have heard is our wonderful guests. I'm getting ready to try to hold in my hate a little bit because a lot of our guests have been from FAMU, but we've also featured historically Black colleges and universities from across the academic diaspora.
We've had.
Do you know how long I've been waiting to use that word diaspora? I have no idea what it means, but it makes me sound.
Don't
really
tell anybody
good.
that though, because people don't think that you didn't learn anything at FAM.
Oh, I learned a lot.
Okay. So we've had people from Clark. No, I'm lying. We've had people from Spelman, Alabama State, Jackson State. We've had people from Tuskegee, but primarily most of the folks have been from the better of all HBCUs,
the highest of Seven Hills in Tallahassee.
And so yeah.
So we started this month for one reason and one reason only, and that is because this is typically the month that we would ordinarily do homecoming and go to homecoming, and so my lovely wife was just kind of moping around the house for weeks and weeks on end, because she couldn't go shopping for all of her various outfits that she would normally wear homecoming, like the breakfast outfit, and then the middle of the day outfit, and then the going out on the yard. You said this
before. I do not have all those different outfits. I have several, but not like breakfast. Who has a breakfast outfit? I have a convocation outfit for sure.
You have breakfast outfits too.
Continue.
So anyway, but so we can't go to homecoming because of the coronavirus.
I know.
So we decided to do two things. One is let's have our own homecoming. We're gonna celebrate homecoming all month.
That's right.
And we're also going to encourage our viewers to get back to the school, because homecoming is a time where you actually call people back and ask them for money.
Yeah, and you go and you reconnect with your friends and reconnect with old professors, and just an opportunity for you to go back onto your respective campuses just to have a good time. And so we're missing that in this COVID space. And so that's why we've been doing for the last few weeks. This is our last week. But for the month of October, we've been doing HC 2020 Challenge. So thank you all for previous alumni who have participated. It's been awesome.
And we've also been featuring some outstanding alumni of historically Black colleges and universities, showing all of our Black excellence. So which is a good segue to what are we talking about today?
Well, the title of the series has been HBCUs, Black Spaces, Creating Black Excellence. And as you all know, HBCU graduates are everywhere. We're in the boardroom, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're teachers. We are physicians, we're pharmacists, physicists. And the beautiful part about HBCUs is HBCU graduates is that we are also innovators. So HBCUs were created as spaces of educational advancement for folks right after the end of the Civil War. And alumni have not stopped being innovators. Right. So we are creators of our own spaces. And so today we are so blessed to have with us the re-innovators in their own right. We have Tina Cole Phillips, Talitha Anyobuele, and Miss Melissa A. Mitchell. Hello, everybody.
Ladies, take yourself off of mute and say hello to the world.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey. We are all over the world. And let me tell you something, Lord, if you're listening, this is how I want to go out right here, surrounded by just a plethora. You know what? Y'all are like a diaspora of Black beautiful women.
I don't know about that one.
No?
Thank you, Talitha. Please just shake your head. Look at Melissa's face. Melissa's like,
But but this is how I want to go out there. Just look at all of this wonderful.
These women are they're much more than they're beautiful. They're rattlers.
Okay.
But they also are phenomenal in terms of they've created their own spaces. We're actually getting into that conversation. Nicole is the CEO of HBCU Pride and Joy. Melissa Mitchell is, and I listened to a podcast earlier this week. You are you're an untrained, I'm gonna let you fix it, but an untrained artist, and you created your own space with ABR Creations. And then Talitha is the creator of Black Girl Speaks and is the founder of Wise Annual Bully Academy.
What's up, fam?
And so I'm just so happy that y'all are here, but we're going to go ahead and get right into the conversation.
Yes.
I know that we talked a little bit about this before we came on the show. I know that I don't think any of you all majored in what you all are doing now. Is that right? Am I accurate? Is that accurate? Kind of, sort of? Am I lying?
Well, I majored in business, so that's kind of so it's a business, but it's a business that I did in clothing design and apparel preparation and manufacturing. No.
Okay. What about you, Melissa?
I studied public relations, so I knew how to market and to speak to the public, but I definitely didn't think I'd be picking up a paintbrush and traveling the country with a brush and a microphone. That was not in my plan.
Okay. And Talitha?
Well, I majored in business as well, Dr. Sybil Mobley School of Business and Industry. And so I definitely am using those skills and tools from business with my businesses, but the business itself has nothing to do with what I learned in this school. So I'm in education and the arts. So neither one of those really fit there. But
Okay. So let me ask this, because we've asked all of our guests previously, when you all graduated from high school and you were headed to college, were HBCUs kind of top of mind for you, or how did you select your all of us went to FAM, so how did y'all select D&M?
Well, for me, I am a fourth generation Rattler, third generation. So it was really no brainer, but my parents did allow me, because my mom went to the University of Miami and my dad went to FAMU, all of my cousins who are older, my great uncle. So I've been going to homecoming. This is the first homecoming I've missed in like 32 years.
Oh, wow.
So my whole family's like in more. They're like, y'all, can we just drive up there? Let's just try to do something. So I've been going to homecoming, like I knew nothing else. So even when I was trying to act like I was going to go to choir, I was like, I'm going to family. I'm going to take that. I already had my dorm room picked out. I just had to bring my bags up. I was already headed.
Talitha?
yes, well, a different world did it for me. I wanted that experience. I was always the only Black person, let alone Black female in my class, in my classes in high school. And I wanted a different world. I wanted to be around other Black scholars. I wanted to see Black excellence every day. I wanted that whole life. So I knew I was going to an HBCU, but FAMU was actually, I was in Florida. I went to high school in Florida, and Dr. Humphreys, I went to a luncheon in Orlando, and I had promised my parents and myself that I was not paying to go to school. I was putting all the work. In high school, I refused to pay for college. Somebody was going to pay me to go to school. And I had all these scholarships from these predominantly white universities. And I was like, this is not it. It's not it. I mean, this money is good, but this is not it. Howard gave me a partial scholarship. I was like, oh, they must not know. Hampton, same thing. They must not know. Went to this luncheon for FAMU. Dr. Humphreys was there. And you all know him. He's statuesque. He is the embodiment of FAMU. And I said to myself, I don't care whether they give me the money or not. This is where I want to go. Like, this was the leader. Kendra Blunt was Miss FAMU at the time. She was amazing. Like, I was just like, this is what I want. And I actually did leave that luncheon with a full scholarship. So that was just icing on the cake. But that was it. I didn't play anywhere else after that. That did it for me.
Awesome. Now, Nicole is my homegirl, and her sister and I graduated from high school together. So LaShanta was with me, and we were at FAM together. Was she the motivation for you going to A&M, or was that even on your radar?
It was a part of the motivation, but it kind of goes back a little before her, because HBCUs are deep in my family. My dad went to FAMU. My great uncle, great aunt, a lot of cousins. And then I have on my mother's side, my grandfather and my uncle went to Bethune-Cookman. So I always knew I was going to an HBCU. Now, FAMU, I must say, was not my first choice. Not because I didn't think that, I thought other schools were better. It was because my sister's there now, and I feel like I need to do something different. I know I want to major in business. She's there majoring in business. I need to chart my own path, right? So my little rebellious self said, okay, I'm going somewhere else. But Talitha, you're right. Howard and Hampton, they didn't know. Them partial scholarships were not it. So, but I still had in my head, my parents had taken me, to see Howard and to see Hampton. I got to Hampton, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I'm going to Hampton. And then, Hampton only wanted to give me a partial scholarship. And then one day at school, in high school, I got called out of class. Representatives from FAMU had come to campus. And so they were doing a presentation, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, y'all look great, but I'm not going to FAMU. And they had us write our information on these index cards and our GPA, all that. And my great uncle is Dr. Leonard Johnson, the late great Dr. Leonard Johnson, former president of the National Alumni Association and the biggest advocate, fighter, recruiter for FAMU. Anybody who went to FAMU from Philadelphia, they knew Dr. Johnson, and they probably went to FAMU because of Dr. Johnson. So anytime I would mention any other school, especially for business, he'd be like, what? Why are we even talking about this? Like, that's crazy. He'd be like, okay, whatever. It was my first girl bye experience was with him somewhere other than FAMU. So I get to they come to campus. I hand the guy my card, and I went up and talked to him because he mentioned something about Philadelphia. And so I went up to see if he knew my uncle, and I asked him, and he was like, wait, you're Dr. Johnson's niece, and you're going somewhere other than FAMU? I'm like, yeah, I think so. I'm just, I'm exploring. He was like, yeah, that don't make no sense. So that was my second girl bye moment. So he was like, he looked at my card, and he was like, you sure you want to go to Hampton? And I was like, I don't know. I think so. And so he was like, okay, all right. So he took my card. I was like, I have no card back. And he was like, no, it's good. So a couple of weeks later, I get a letter in the mail, a scholarship letter, full scholarship. So I was like, okay. There we go. Decision is made. Best decision I ever made. I don't know what I was thinking about going anywhere else for business, number one. Number two, thinking that I should go somewhere else other than where my sister was. Because I needed to go to the grocery store. I needed to know what was happening in Tallahassee. I don't know what I was thinking. So it was the best decision all the way around. So that's how I got to FAMU.
That's a great story. Melissa, let me ask you, you mentioned that you had some exposure and you knew that the family was where you wanted to end up. What was the biggest aha? Like, what was different that you didn't anticipate when you got there? It was different than you.
Well, I was the oldest child of 3 daughters, so I thought I would be so homesick because I was from Miami, so going so far away from home, all the way to Tallahassee. I was like, I'm going to miss home. I'm not going to make it here. So they dropped me off. I was like, y'all ain't got to come back to next year. I mean, I literally fell in love with the campus, and it's like I had a campus mom, a fake campus dad. I mean, my initial roommate became my best friend, and her birthday tomorrow. Still my best friend now. Mm-hmm. So like I immediately jumped into campus and just made my own life. And then I got into leadership. I love my major, and I was just like, I was scared to come because you're always nervous. You're 18 years old, you're getting dropped into foreign land. But I mean, FAMU took such good care of me that I became a recruiter for FAMU my freshman year. I was like, y'all, it's not that bad. Just come on. And so, I mean, we put on trips. They're like, tell me your story. So this what happened. I had hundreds of students under my belt because I think a lot of people were just afraid, especially from Miami, coming to a different climate, a different environment. But Todd and folk pulled off in that van, and I was excited.
So Talitha, you said that your motivation was Different World, right? And so that was one of my favorite shows. And neither one of my parents went to HBCUs, but a lot of people in my family did go to HBCUs. And so Different World really was kind of my view into what an HBCU experience was going to be as well. Was it any different once you got on campus?
Well, there were some things I couldn't anticipate. And this might detour a little bit from the greatness of FAMU, but it really speaks to us as a people and HBCUs in general. The only part I didn't anticipate was our self-loathing. So we're going to just do that a little bit. There was a little bit of that, in the sense of there was division based on colorism at times, based on affiliation at times, and I didn't anticipate that. I expected all love all the time, everything. Now that is mostly what I felt, definitely mostly what I felt, but I would be remiss if I didn't point that still was there, because I do want us to deal with that, even if that's still happening on campus now. I do want us to deal with that. Yeah. But it definitely was. So one of the things I said, I was going to find my husband, or he's going to find me. I was going to pledge AKA, and I was going to graduate my degree. Those 3 things. That was going to happen, period. And point blank, period, they all happened. Because I was with that intention, like I was, people clown that now, like, oh, you're supposed to just give up. No. I was very clear that this pool of men on this campus will probably be the best it was going to get for a while. So let me try to weed out, and, Pickens was slim then too. But I was like, let me try to weed out. But those things, now that was my 17-year-old mind. I was young, I was naive, that's what I was thinking, but it just so happened to work out that way. And I'm thankful, like Nicole said, I say this all the time. I have a shirt that I made for myself for homecoming this year, best decision ever. FAMU absolutely was, not just because of those 3 things, but just the network, the confidence I gained in myself, even dealing with those trials that I talked about. It taught me and affirmed me even more, like made me more sure of who I was as a Black woman. I truly came of age. That was like a rites of passage there. So I'm thankful. Yeah. Experience. So when I do look at a different world now with my daughter, I can tell her stories that go along with what she's seeing on the screen. Like, yeah, this reminds me of the time that I had Professor so-and-so, and so she's like, oh, so this is just like this. I'm like, yes, we had step shows right down the set, just like this. It would look just like this. So yes, it definitely was a different world experience.
Awesome.
So Nicole, how is it that, and we talk about Black excellence, so how is it that an HBCU prepares you for to kind of walk in your purpose and to find yourself?
That's a good question, because I often get people who don't understand the HBCU experience who like to say, oh, it doesn't prepare you for the real world. And I must say, my primary job is I am a business school professor, and I've taught at PWIs and HBCUs. And even as a student, after I left FAMU, I went into the workplace, and then I went to graduate school. And in that graduate school, I was the only Black person in my program, the first and only Black person in my program, and 2 of us in the college. And so I never felt less than. I never felt that I didn't deserve to be there. I knew what I knew. I knew I was prepared. And that's one of the things that I credit to Dean Mobley and the design of her program in SBI. Because as much as while I was there, I didn't appreciate it, all of that dressing up, all of that speaking, that writing, developing those questions prepared me to stand in any space and be comfortable expressing my ideas, expressing my thoughts, and knowing that I have the training and I have the ability to do anything that needs to be done in that particular space. Because there were individuals who asked me, well, how do you feel about being here? You didn't come from UF. You didn't come from USF. But here you are, at this PWI, this huge institution. You're the only Black person here, and you're the only person from HBCU. There's no Black people on faculty. Like, how do you not feel less than? I'm like, why would I? I know why I'm here, and I know what I came to do. And so I'm going to do that. So I think there's a different level of preparation because the professors and the leadership at HBCUs understand what we need to do and how we need to present and what we need to be prepared to do outside in these spaces in order to be successful. And so I don't want to say over prepare, but they instill certain things in us that we don't have to think about. We don't have to think about how to craft a statement. We don't have to think about how we're going to dress when we go somewhere. And those are things that I noticed my counterparts had to, like, oh, what do we wear? And how are we going to go up and introduce ourselves to this person? And those were things that just came routine and automatic for me. So I think the understanding of how we have to navigate in this world is what an HBCU experience can prepare you for.
It's the excellence with Karen, right? Like, that's what it is.
That's real. That's true. Excellence is true. Melissa, I want to ask you a question because I am intrigued by how you got into being the artist that you are. I know that you said you were in the J school and you did public relations. I think on one of the podcasts you also said you did graphic design as well. So how did you do that pivot? Because I know the story that on the podcast I was listening to, it was snowing in it, and you went home, the lights were flickering on and off. You said, "Let me get this black pen and some paint and just use my creativity to I guess fill the boring space in the time when you don't have anything else to do." You have grown up, right? So so how did your experience at FAMU prepare you for being able to make that pivot and then stand sure in that pivot?
So, you all spoke about it. The Black college experience as a whole gives you a confidence that cannot be bought in stores, right? So even when I was feeling like I was failing, I was like, "Oh, honey, I'm a FAMU Rattler. I'm in the mirror, like I'm gonna get myself together." And so the real story is that when I decided to cut my hair off, I still had to go to all these shows. And I was like, I need to keep the conditioner on. The instructions say so-and-so. So I was like, I need to figure out how to wear my art on my head. And so that's how I designed head wraps. And so I was chronicling my entire journey on social media. All of my friends are really from FAMU. And so I was like, if I sold hair wraps, would y'all buy them? They were like, bro, pull up at homecoming. I bet you would buy them. So I had 200 hair wraps printed at homecoming 2016, 17. And I sold out in like a day. And I had it in my purse. I had it in my luggage. People were pulling up to my hotel. I had them at the game. I had a book bag on the set. And so just being a FAMU rap was enough for people to support. They're like, my homeboys are like, I ain't gonna wear it, but you my homegirl, I'm gonna buy one because you're a Rattler. And so my first piece of artwork I ever sold, every piece that 80% of my business is from FAMU. So not only is my business acumen from being a Rattler, but my business comes from Rattlers. And you think about some of the top CEOs of companies that I eventually work for, they happen to be Rattlers. So there is somebody on every point of this earth in business or whatever that's a Rattler. So a lot of my leads come from Rattlers. Like, Mel, I got somebody I want to do talk to. She went to FAM. Wait, he went to FAM. Get him on the phone. So my network is full of people who want to see me win. And so these people that I went to school with, you think about some of our leaders. See me through my profile. So just some of my connections along between the sorority and being a part of FAMU. I can't even imagine not going to FAMU. Like the thought of that makes me like so crazy. I'm like, God, if I ain't go to FAMU, this would be a mess.
Yeah.
My business, I might be called ADL Creation / FAMU. Literally, because my dad was a designer. So, I watched him shuffle and sell stuff at homecoming. So I didn't know a homecoming without selling something. I always had a shirt to sell. So when he passed away, I was like, y'all, we done selling that this year? I said, we can get ourselves together. So 4 years later, we came back and it was head wraps. And then the rest is history.
That's awesome. And I will share with you, you can tell a Melissa Mitchell piece. That's huge. The fact that you started 2016, if you have a Melissa Mitchell piece, which I'm sharing everybody,
yes,
you know a Melissa Mitchell piece when you see it. And the whole we talk about family, and that's real. And I know Nicole and Talitha, in terms of Melissa talked about just kind of how the Rattler Nation, we are a family. We rock hard for each other. I know on social media we call each other a gang because you can't come for us. So talk about, as an alumni, what that's because I went to a PWI for law school, and so Gator Nation is a real thing. But I will share with you that even when I was on UF's campus, there was still something missing. I think Black folks that go to UF may have a different vibe and experience, but it's not like the connection that I have with my FAMU family. And so as an alumni, talk about, that Rattler Nation, FAMU concept and how that's impacted, from a business perspective, how that's impacted your business, if at all.
Oh, absolutely. Just like Melissa, people automatically, it's like a stamp of approval already. It's like, oh, you went to FAM. I don't have to question it because I already know you're coming with a level of integrity, of excellence. And so I can just trust that on that alone, on that strength alone. I mean, Nicole and I collaborate in business now, and I didn't know her personally. We knew each other, and she was in Black Girl Speaks, our space. But I didn't know her, but I knew she was the fam, and that was enough. That was all I needed. And so I knew that she was going to come and bring excellence, and she has every time. Most of my parents are Rattlers in my school, and it was no question as soon as I put it out there. So I have had Rise Anyabwile Academy in the sense of consulting for years now. So that's why it has been my sole business. But I just launched the actual school this year in the presence of COVID. And I'm thinking I'm launching a new business in the middle of COVID. How's this going to work? No, Rattlers came through. Their babies are in. They're like, this is great, and they're out there blasting it. So it's wonderful to know that we are a part of a family that we can't fail. Like, yes, we missteps, yes, there'll be mistakes, and that's okay, but Rattlers will still be there to know we're going to continue to support. As long as we bring the integrity and excellence that we were taught to have, Rattlers will always be there to support. And so I'm so thankful for that. Even with Black Girl Speaks, that has always been the case. Most of the audience has always been fam. I've never had a problem. Fam, you brought me there to perform it several times without question, without ever having seen it. They were the first on my college circuit tour. And that's what led to doors opening everywhere else, because I could say I performed this at FAM, and it was like, oh, okay, you performed at the largest HBCU? Sure, this must be great. So, it opened the doors for more opportunities. So it has been nothing but a blessing. And I attribute that to my experience at FAMU and Dr. Sybil Mobley. That woman, that fierce woman with a red afro, walking around, probably yes. She instilled all of that power and confidence in us without question. So I'm so thankful for that experience.
So Nicole, with the HBCU Pride and Joy, which I bought a lot of stuff for our son, and I love it.
Thank you.
Same question, in terms of when you made a decision to say, okay, I know I'm a professor, but there's a side purpose hustle inside of me. Let me go ahead and do that. The connection with FAMU and Rattler Nation, was that beneficial and helpful in the success of your business?
Extremely. I feel very confident saying that HBCU Pride and Joy would not be where we are now with 13 schools had I started with 2 schools that where FAMU was not one of them. So when we launched in 2012, we launched with FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. And FAMU from then all the way till now, even as we have had difficulty in some spaces getting into the other schools, FAMU has consistently supported. And I am so grateful for Rattlers. I mean, even when I literally joined Facebook in order to promote HBCU Pride and Joy. I was not on Facebook, so I called friends from FAM, like, hey, what am I supposed to do? How do I get on this thing? How am I supposed to announce it? And the minute that I announced it, they started sharing. To this day, they will continue to share. And they're our largest school. We support our own. And it's a pleasure, as a Rattler, to continue to serve Rattlers and to have Rattlers to be satisfied and pleased with the product that I put out, because we are a tough bunch. Yeah. And if we can do something that not only elevates the school's brand and promotes it, but also is something that our fellow Rattlers, our family want to promote and share and continue to see and continue to carry on, over time, then, I think that's definitely a testament for all of us who have been able to support. Without FAMU, I mean, I don't know if HBCU Pride and Joy will be here, 7 years later. So, so I'm beyond grateful.
So Melissa, I'm going to ask if you can give us a little bit more insight into ABS, how it came to be. But this is an opportunity for you to also kind of toot your horn a little bit about, like, other than my lovely wife Monica, who wears your fashion, who are some of the other individuals that you got an opportunity to?
Well, since I get to. And when we talked about the Family Network, I kind of was modest, but I want a 4 Explorer fully loaded I also won a Spanx contest, a global contest, and won a deal with Spanx. But when it was time to vote, I had my Rattler friends that were teachers that had their students in classes voting for me every day. So my network, like it brought tears to my eyes. These people that I never met, they're like, "Oh, you the fan? You girl with the bra." My friend is a flight attendant, and she made sure our whole flight voted for me. I was like, "I'm sorry," you know. So when I think about the people that wear my stuff, it's people that I may never meet, but they know my entire story. I just got a message that I was reading a minute ago. It was a little girl. Her birthday, I think, is tomorrow, and I just put out these new jackets. And so apparently she wants to be an artist. She's at home. She said she saw this girl with all these colors and found my page. So they let her get an Instagram page. And now she's wearing my jacket. She said, I'm going to be an artist like that girl I saw on the internet. So it's cool to talk about Lupita and being in Vogue and all those things. But when I think about the women or the young people that I'm inspiring, it's just step outside of, I was never told that you could be a millionaire being an artist. I was never, it was like Twiggy said, go to school, find your sorority, find your husband, have 2.5 kids, and that's it. You know, there was nothing else after that. So I think I always say that when my father passed away and my grandmother passed away, I was like, this can't be it. Like, this is dash. Like, okay, he died and that's it. I was like, oh, no, this life got to be more than this. And so that's when I decided that I wanted the Mitchell name, the Melissa Mitchell name, to have a legacy, not Mike's daughter, not Sharon's daughter. And when I went to FAMU, and I was like, what's your dad? You know, what was your daddy do? I was like, well, he's gone. Stop asking about him. I was like, you know, I need my own legacy. And so now that I've charted my own course, it's like my art. I mean, I'm about to be in the airport in a few weeks. I have a whole campaign with a mayor named Keisha, who is a Rattler as well. And I have the longest running show in the mayor's office right now because of COVID. It'll be there almost a year by the time all this is over. But because I was a Rattler with talent, she was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. You're next. And now I ended up being the person that has art that will be all over the, like literally the global news that comes to the office. It's Melissa Mitchell, the FAMU in her office. So, I mean, the list will go on and on, but I think the stories of people that say, hey, I wore your head wrap to chemo. Or hey, I wore your wrap, I lost 50 pounds and I felt confident when I put on one of your dresses. I was like, myself, I was like, you know, you don't realize your impact, but when you finally follow your dream, the door, it's like you're literally, I'm the Harriet Tubman of the art world because I'm leaving this door open for people that have given up on their dreams and they're like, wow, Melissa could do it. Listen. And I'm still doing it with fear and trepidation, like, child, I'm not going to submit this and see if they like it. And they're like, oh, they like it. Put another one. And I'm sold hundreds already.
Oh, I love that.
Last week, my mom was like, put it. I was like, Mom, is it too late? I mean, the election's in 3. She said, girl, just put on your website. Literally, I could not keep up with orders. So I have written my story down to encourage not only other people, but myself. I was like, if I could do that, I could do anything.
Yeah.
So coming back to being a Rattler, it makes you fearless. Like, we don't worry about rejection. We're like, we can do it. If the Rattlers like it, I don't care about the rest of the world. If any people like it, I got it. And that's all. That's more than enough.
I love it. I have to tell all of you guys, I visited your websites. All of your websites are phenomenal. Now, I'm going to guess that the site as it looks today is probably not the same as it was when you first launched back in 2000. And tell us the, kind of the origin and how Black Girl Speaks came to be today.
Okay, so because I was like, which business? Because that's the other thing. You know, we diversify. Rattlers diversify. Which one are you talking about? Okay, you talking about Black Girl Speaks. Okay. Yeah, so that has definitely evolved. So it began, honestly, so when I left business, graduated, got this cushy job, I was in Atlanta making money, but I was miserable, right? Went back to Tallahassee because that's the last place I felt nurtured and safe. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to this safe space, Tallahassee, near fam, and just try to figure it out, right? So I quit the job abruptly in Atlanta, just moved back. I had saved money. I'm going to figure it out. Ended up working at this African Center private school, very divine. 2 FAMU professors owned the school, Dr. Sharon and Dana Denard owned the school. I was interviewing for a job to be the manager at their bookstore because they also owned a bookstore. So these are professors who had several other businesses outside of it. So we're seeing this excellence even on campus, right? And they thought I was interviewing to be a teacher and for me that job. And I was like, okay, you know, like Miss Liz said, I don't know, okay, well, sure. But I had that Dr. Mobley confidence. I was like, you know what, I'm ready. Okay, why not? And that was the introduction to that. But in that classroom, I started reaching the children with spoken word. I started teaching them, because these were students who were coming from public school, many of them 6th through 8th grade, their first time at Sakara Youth Institute was the name of the private school, and they could not read. These babies could not read, which is criminal. So we're going to whole nother conversation, which was criminal. But they knew hip hop. I know the origin of that. I know the origin of hip hop, and that is poetry, and that's the last poets, and that's all. So let's talk about that. Let's do spoken word in the classroom. I was part of a poetry collective called Black and Black Rhyme, so I would have poets come in the classroom and teach. And so they challenged me one day. It was like, Missy, it's my maiden name. You got us doing this. What can you do? Oh, I can show you better than I can tell you. I wrote a whole show. So when I first did it, it was really to show my parents and students, like, this is what, yes, you can do this, right? Like, not thinking. Sold out. My boyfriend at the time, my husband was the producer. He sold it out mostly to FAMUans. FAMU packed that place. They were the first ones to pack it. It was at the ACAT Center, and they kept saying, "This can't end here. This is not it." And so initially, their website, it was MySpace. First of all, y'all remember MySpace?
Wow.
I had a Black Girl Speaks MySpace page, okay, and that's where we promoted the show, and that's how it sold out. So it has certainly evolved since then, because I was touring with the show. I began doing it at schools all over, and it just, it grew out of proportion. And then that turned into consulting with schools. So this is how to link into education, because I wrote a curriculum based on the tenets of the show, got contracts with major school districts, took it to Singapore, took it all over. And so now it is this support system that all the women here are a part of, where we support each other virtually in this space. So yes, that website has definitely transcended quite a bit. And it has grown into other branches of business outside of that, but all of that from that connection from FAMU. It all, like, the roots are always back to FAMU in some way.
So we've talked a lot about, just we as HBCU grads, we know the excellence that is on HBCU campuses, right? And so I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Because Melissa's shirt kind of triggered this. So we're in election season, and we have a phenomenal woman who is the vice presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, and she is a graduate of Howard University, right? So before, I'm very protective of our spaces. And so I think HBCUs are I revere that space. I protect that space, because we're able to be unapologetically ourselves on HBCUs campuses generally, right? But now that she's in the limelight, there's more focus, right, on HBCUs. And I've just experienced that in my professional life. Oh, HBCUs. And now they're Googling HBCUs and Googling Howard, and oh my gosh, you all have such phenomenal alumni. We've been telling y'all that y'all can find phenomenal people on HBCU campuses. I would love to get you all's feelings. Number one, when you first found out that she was going to be the nominee, and then two, how you feel about her being an HBCU alum on this level, because now our sacred spaces are no longer sacred. Does that make sense? They're no longer sacred spaces, because the world is seeing now what we've been saying for hundreds of years. So Talitha, you want to take that one first?
Well, I don't know if they're no longer sacred. I think they're no longer secret.
Secret, okay.
So and they'll forever be sacred. I mean, they are hollow ground in the way that they were founded, and in the purpose for which they were founded. But I actually am just immensely proud to see our excellence on public display in the way that it is. And she has done nothing but make us proud every time she represents and steps out and shows her excellence. And so we know, I mean, even if we have within the HBCU circle, we'll, have banter back and forth, but HBCUs love HBCUs, period. So we are proud. She is a Howard alum. We are proud of the way that she represents not just HBCUs, because here's the thing. People think when you say Black excellence that is subpar, but it's actually superior because we are going through obstacles and challenges that others may not face. So it is an excellence that far surpasses anything else. And when we say Black excellence, that is the top echelon of level of excellence, right? And she is representing that. So it's nothing but immense pride for her. It's kind of like, I think about it, the fictional Wakanda and how they were keeping everything hidden and now it's exposed to the world, right? To be this help to the world, but it does not diminish how sacred it is and how wonderful it is and the amazing place that it is for all of us. It still will be that. And now more of our babies will know about this. That's the gift that I think that, enrollment will increase. My kids, they, there's no other option. They already know, so it's clear, but now their peers are thinking about it in the same way. So it makes me very proud.
Nicole?
I agree. I mean, I find so much pride, and I take so much pride in seeing her, and she constantly represents us in a positive way. I mean, she is just, you just watch her, you just like, get up. She's on the debate stage and all of that, and for me, it is more about exposing the greatness that is HBCUs to the world. Because for so long, there's this, even within Black people, within our own race, intra-race, there is this perception by some that HBCUs are subpar or Black excellence. Anytime you put Black on something, it means, it means less than. And this whole, HBCUs don't prepare you for the real world. Well, how much more real world can you get than the White House, right? So for her to get to that point, I think about the HBCU pride and joy babies who are going to come up and see that as a very real aspiration. It's not some off in the distance idea and this goal that maybe one day they see it. And so I think that, trumps. Of course, there are always going to be haters. We always have them. We know how to deal with them. And so we will continue to do that. But I think the exposure to of the world of the greatness that exists. I do think, that puts some additional pressure on HBCUs to ensure that the message that what we say we are, we actually are. So the excellence that exists must continue and must elevate. We now have eyes on us. So let's take advantage of that. Let's capitalize on the opportunity as much as we can.
Melissa?
Yeah, and I definitely concur with that. And I think for me, especially her coming behind a first woman to run for president and right before they're having a Black president, it just to me made me feel like my dreams are not too big. Right? It's kind of like, one day I'm going to be president. They're like, girl, you're going to be president. You need to just go and work at the bank like everybody else. And so for me, it just I think that me wanting to be the first billionaire Black female artist bigger than Basquiat is not outlandish, right? Because we would have never thought in our lifetime we would see all these things happen. And so I think what is so amazing is that she did come from a pipeline of HBCUs. So it further affirms that what we have done with our lives is right on track with excellence, right? So when everybody else is like, y'all going to FAMU? Yep. And when you go to UM, y'all gonna be trying to come to FAMU to our homecoming. And they still, I have people keep trying to get in the car with me even this year. They're like, man, we don't get to go. It's ain't your homecoming. Y'all still have y'all, And so now people are excited to be aligned and to be affiliated. But we're like, well, honey, this is really who we are. And so our dreams, and no matter how big they are, they can be manifested just as well as hers has. So it just makes me excited to see what the universe has to offer. Because anything
I love that.
Literally.
I looked at the debate and just really marveled at the dignity and the grace by which she checked the vice president. When she simply said, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. Because here's what I heard. Yeah, one more time, interrupt me. I swear to God, come across that plexiglass and slap the taste out your mouth. That's what I would have said, and that's the reason why I'm not on the debate.
That was definitely an I swear for God moment. Yes, absolutely.
I swear for God, if you interrupt me one more time.
And if you, I'm going to put a shameless plug here. Nicole and I partnered on this. If you want an I Am Speaking shirt from Kamala, you can go to youhadmeatkamala.com because we have those shirts. I'm speaking, don't interrupt.
Absolutely.
So you go to youhadmeatkamala.com and get all of your Kamala swag from the Black Girl Speaks company. So yes, I love that. And I have mine on the way because we just put those out fresh on the press. I have mine on the way, and my babies are getting one too. Like, don't interrupt.
Oh, come on now with the plug. Come on.
Yes.
I'm trying to be quick on it.
And another thing, because she pledged the wonderful sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, she was more than prepared for anything that came her way. And her patience and her grace, I'm sure it came from her process. She's like, I've been through enough with these folks. What you're doing can't even compare to what I've been through 30 years ago.
Amen.
Well, I will definitely, she has all of my support. She is my sister in Greekdom. We do not have the same. Yes. I'm just sitting there on this call right now. We are all sisters in Greekdom, and we have her back too. So we
all strolling to the polls.
Exactly. We are strolling to the polls, and I am speaking t-shirts in red and white. Yeah.
Nicole, you bring up a great point, because one of the things that we wanted to focus on this month, and we have focused on this month, is the importance of us coming together as a community and giving back to our universities. And so I would like to hear some perspective from you guys on, because you've been successful in your kind of your primary careers. You've also been successful in your side hustle, if you will. It's give us some perspective on what types of things have you done to like use that platform to reach back and help others, or even give back to our school that we love so much.
Yes, so philanthropy is a huge part of just our family. It's just something ingrained in who we are. So we donate no less than $3,000 a year to FAMU. But this month alone, I donated $1,887 in lieu of the fact that we couldn't go to homecoming. And it was like our kind of push to say, this is our home giving. Instead of homecoming, we're doing home giving. We're going to give back to FAMU this month. And so I donated, the year that we were founded. And so that's just very important to me. But other than that, it is giving specific scholarships to students. And so in the form of like financial contribution and paying for certain things that students need at FAMU, who need support and sponsorship in that way to give back to them. And mentorship is huge for us. So we mentor high school students who we know could be on their way to FAMU, but just don't get the guidance in the way that some of us may have received to know what to do and how to get there. And so offering that mentorship is there. So it's threefold for us in that way.
That's outstanding. Nicole?
Yes. And for me as an individual, I give consistently. I just have an automatic draft that comes out because I will forget. And so I just do that on a regular basis. But when there are specific special events, annual giving and things like that, if I get a letter, then I will remember to send in an additional donation. In HBCU Pride and Joy, we only sell licensed apparel. So that means that everything that we sell, every purchase, a percentage of that goes back to the university. That is a part of the license. It's required. So everyone should be buying licensed apparel because that definitely goes back and supports the institution. We also always, if you come by our booth at homecoming, you will see FAMU students working with us. So when we set up, we always try to give employment opportunities, just for, while we're there. And hopefully, when the world opens back up again, we'll be able to really expand our brand ambassador program. But while we're there, it's really a great opportunity to kind of see what's happening on campus and offer opportunities and connect them with some of the alums who come by the booths. If they're interested in a certain field, we know someone's going to come by that we can connect them to. And on our day-to-day, as a company, I hire HBCU graduates as interns, and when possible, we will do a full-time or part-time job. Right now, I have one of my former students who is helping out with my social media for Ad on Print, which is kind of the spinoff that Talitha and I work with together. And so she's managing the social media. This is her project. And so she was a student of mine when I was a professor at Winston-Salem State. And so that is her job now. So whenever possible, I always try to bring them into the business so that they can get some real world experience. But it's definitely important to contribute financially, but also to contribute in other ways, so that the students can actually have a connection with us and be guided and get some assistance, and not think that what they're experiencing is so different and so out of the ordinary. We can kind of help guide them through some of those processes.
Awesome. Melissa?
Yeah, I think you guys are spot on. I mean, I try to give a couple of thousand every year. Even in the recent years, we have created an endowment for students that come from Miami that are interested in journalism or art in the name of my father. So we did that for the past couple of years. My ultimate goal is to get something on campus named after my father, because he was such a fan. Mr. Fan, he was what he was. And so our family goal is to get something on campus named after him. And so also, aside from all the money stuff, I speak every homecoming for the past probably like 8 or 9 years. I've spoken on campus, and some of my friends are now professors in the School of Journalism, so I speak during classes as well. Just randomly, I said we don't have to be broadcasted. If there's only 10 kids in class, let's have a talk. And I give them real life advice. I was like, why are you waiting to graduate to have an e-commerce store? That's because income as a student to pay off your loans before you get out of school. They're like, man, I never thought about that. I was like, I wish somebody would have told me that, And with technology, I mean, I had students, while I try not to extend mentoring to everybody because that becomes exhausting. I give them the tools to say, this is all you need, A, B, and C. They're like, man, that's it. I said, yeah, you don't need a mentor. You need to get to work. So I tell them, I steer them in the right direction. And then if I've done that for 50 students, I mean, we got 50 companies that have come to life right there. So aside from money, I try to equip students with just to be empowered to go after their dreams now, instead of waiting until they get married, until they get 30, until they get out of school. I said, no, you can be doing that today at 19. And a lot of them have. So that's really dope to know that our reach is beyond just monetary. It can be more than that.
Yeah.
So when I look at ABL website, I don't see the men.
There's male stuff.
I don't see it on here. I saw something about.
Yeah. And bow ties, they sell out. So
let me explain something to you about men. Okay, so
on the front,
it's there. You got to search for it. So I'm gonna tell you what my husband will do. He'll say, Monica, where's I don't know, the egg?
Yeah. I don't think
open up the refrigerator and just look in the refrigerator and doesn't move his head and say, I don't see it. It's on there. Just look. You have to
I have probably 500 products. I'm trying, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to revamp my entire business model because I am coming up with ideas every day. It's almost hard to even keep it. Like now I'm coming out with houseware, so I have pillows, rugs, I have aprons to cook in, I have a dinette set coming out. So I'm like, I need to figure out how to get all this stuff out of my head comfortably onto a website.
Yeah.
So I'm actually in the middle of rebranding.
I saw that you are collaborating with someone that does fedoras.
Yes, Gorin Brothers. It's a 125-year-old company.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it's the first time ever working with designers from out of Atlanta specifically. And so I've given them some crazy ideas. They're like, we might need to bring you on. Yeah, I know. So I'm now giving them a lot of good. And I was like, it's crazy that people don't realize how much talent comes from HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
We don't realize how talented we are. They're like, oh, y'all really not smart. We're smart. Y'all not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And when you have these conversations, you're like, we really are the tea. Like, we are the person. So having a seat at these tables made me realize that FAMU was really, it was a mecca. Like, we don't realize how fortunate we were. We were sitting at tables with literally some of the most brilliant people we'll ever come across.
Absolutely. I was just sharing with somebody. So, Kamala, when she goes, I do this page on social media for voting to kind of engage people during the election, during election season and outside the election season, called Souls to the Polls. And one of the things I'm encouraging people to do is when they're voting this election season is to rock Converse, because Kamala rocks Converse. And the CEO of Converse is a FAMU Rattler. So
was there with me?
Who was there was Keith's classmate. So Scott Uzel. So to your point, Melissa, we literally are everywhere. Rattlers are everywhere for sure, but HBCU grads are everywhere as well. And I always I do live in employment law defense side, and I stress to my clients all the time, if you're looking for talent, you try to do diversity and inclusion. If you're looking for talent, you don't need to go anywhere else but an HBCU, because you get the talent, and we are top-notch talent. In addition to, you get a diverse group of people to come to your workforce. So we are coming in at the end of our time, but as we've done with every other show, before we leave, we want to ask you all, our guests, HBCU-wide, if you're trying to convince a young person who's in high school or who's watching this show about why they should select an HBCU, not just A&M, even though we think that they should choose A&M because there really is no other choice, but just HBCU in general, in 3 or 4 words, explain to them, try to convince them why they should choose an HBCU. I'm gonna start with you, Nicole.
I would say, especially for our young Black, gifted, and Black, that you get to be your entire, whole, Black, beautiful self. And it is rare that you get to do that. So take advantage of that opportunity when you have it. And it's nothing like that experience. You will never be the same. It is transformative.
Absolutely. Melissa?
I was trying to come up with a cute slogan like I was running for office, but I was thinking of the words. You said 3 words. I was thinking that you become protected, you create a community within yourself, you find your purpose, not just in terms of relationships or whatever these people think they're supposed to find. You find your why on campus, and you propel. When you walk out of the family, when I walked off campus, I had about 4 or 5 different professors that wanted to make sure that I was okay. They were like, okay, you leaving here, but what you gonna do next? I was like, they're like, no, you ain't gonna just be apply for a job and that's it. They wanted to make sure that I was able to excel in whatever I did. So you'll find your people also. That's the other thing. So you'll be protected, you'll have your purpose, you'll propel, and you'll find your people.
I love that.
So yeah, I was definitely allowed with both of those. It really depends on the audience. So depending on the student, I would say, who are we? Who are you? Why are we here? If you want to know the answers to those questions, go to an HBCU. If it, as a young man, I can tell you what my husband would always say. If you want to see the finest women in the world in one place, go to an HBCU. So it really depends on the audience. But to, scholars, I would really say those 3 questions, because that is exactly what I found out by going to an HBCU.
Awesome.
Well, I will close this the same way I opened it. Talitha, that was an outstanding synopsis of how I felt. When I stepped foot on campus and I looked around, and I swear I thought I was in Black man's heaven. because you really do as a man. And it's funny that you mentioned going to find a husband, because when I coach young men and mentor young men, I tell them the same thing. I say, look, you're getting ready to go onto a campus, and there's going to be so much selection. The ratio is always going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1. But you need to find you one before you leave there if you're smart, because it's overrated to be 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. A lot of times talking about, well, I'm just kind of holding out, waiting on, when you could be building a kingdom with some young sister that you met right there on campus. So I wasn't smart enough to do that. But I certainly try to instill that in some of the young men that I.
Well, you found me later.
I found you later, but I found her later. But when I did find her, she was disobedient, and she didn't want to act right. And it took another like 7, 8 years after.
Chad, that's a whole story.
I know that story.
That's a whole. Look at Melissa. Melissa's like.
And I'm texting mine who made a mistake, and now you want to circle. Oh, okay.
Well, ladies,
it's Mercury retrograde. Be careful. Be careful.
Well, listen, this has been a blast. This is a lot of fun. I can't thank you guys enough for coming on to the show and just taking some time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out with us. Feel free to share the show with your friends. Let everybody know when it's going to air. We appreciate you. We admire you. When I grow up, I want to be like y'all.
Yes.
We thank you all. We appreciate all the alumni who have joined us this month for AC 2020 Challenge. This was a joy. I'm so excited when we kick this off, and this is a perfect way to end the month of October. So I appreciate you all. You all be blessed. We will see you all in November.
Stay safe.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Wherever we go, we about to bring on the positive vibe.